Hi, my name is Tim and I'm in the beautiful Lithuanian capital of Vilnius.
Join me for a few days on my city break exploring this fascinating city. I'm staying at the Imperial Hotel, which has a great location right in the heart of the old town. You can find my review of the hotel on my YouTube channel. In this video, we'll have a look at the city's most famous sites and soak up its history and atmosphere. We'll also take a day trip to Trakai to see the stunning castle on the lake. There is so much to see and learn about the heritage of this city. So to kick things off, we are starting with a walking tour with one of the city's official guides. We were very lucky that our wonderful Lithuanian friend Jurga had arranged for an excellent tour guide by the name of Kristupas. He was quite eccentric, which added to the enjoyment. He told us so many stories that it really brought the history of the buildings and the sites to life for us. I would definitely recommend him if you want a private walking tour, and I will leave his name in the comments below. The first major site on our list to see was just a couple of minutes' walk from our hotel. It's one of Lithuania's most religious, historical and culturally important sites, the Gate of Dawn. It's a city gate and a major site of Catholic pilgrimage. The gate was built in the 16th century. Originally, there were 10 city gates built as fortifications to protect the city, but this is the only one remaining. The gates often contained religious artifacts to protect the city from attack and to bless travellers. The chapel in the Gate of Dawn has an icon of the Blessed Virgin Mary, Mother of Mercy, which is said to have miraculous powers. You enter through the pretty Gate of Dawn chapel. I wasn't able to film inside the chapel, but when I stood in front of the icon, it was an extremely moving experience. The icon is a sacred object of veneration for the Roman Catholic, Greek Catholic, and Eastern Orthodox faiths, and people come from far and wide to pray in front of the beloved painting. Not far from the Gate of Dawn and close to a very colourful pancake shop, you will find the beautiful Roman Catholic Church of St. Teresa, built in 1650 in grand Baroque style. Next, we are looking at the church and monastery of the Holy Spirit. It's been continually operating since 1609, and in the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, it was one of the most important centres of orthodoxy. It's a special place of veneration for the Vilnius martyrs, Saint Anthony, John and Eustathius. It's a little bit creepy because you can see the relics of their bodies laid out in the main nave of the church. We walked on to another part of the old town with great historical importance, the Vilnius ghetto. It was a World War II Jewish ghetto established and operated by Nazi Germany. During its existence, starvation, disease, street executions, maltreatment and deportation to concentration and extermination camps tragically reduced the ghetto's population from an estimated 40,000 to around only 500 people. Today, the area is pretty and vibrant, with a quaint collection of colourful narrow streets of shops, bars and restaurants, in stark contrast to its grim history. It's a charming area to spend some time, but chilling to think only a few hundred of the city's Jewish population managed to survive the war. As we strolled along, we came to this grand portico-fronted building housing the Amber Muse jewellery shop. Vilnius is well known for its amber, often called Lithuanian gold. It's been integral to Lithuanian culture for centuries. It's a symbol of national identity and artistic expression. Vilnius has an amber museum, and you'll also see amber jewellery and souvenirs being sold on market stalls and in shops around the city. We were ready for some lunch, but the trouble is all the restaurants look so good, it's hard to decide which one to go for. We really wanted to try a traditional Lithuanian dish called cepelinas. Luckily, our friend Jurga had done her research and took us to a restaurant that was highly recommended. The restaurant is part of the luxurious Stiklai Hotel. The restaurant has a really beautiful outside terrace, but because the temperature was so hot, we decided to eat inside in the cool. The restaurant is full of character and had an authentic and traditional vibe, which is just what we were looking for. We started off with a Lithuanian favourite, potato cakes with sour cream, and then had the cepelinas, which are traditional potato dumplings stuffed with pork, served with sour cream and smoked bacon sauce. They were absolutely delicious. We also tried fried rye bread, which you dip into a cream cheese sauce. Not exactly low calorie, but also delicious, and I would highly recommend the restaurant. To walk off our lunch, we strolled through the pretty streets to the town hall square and the Baroque church of St. Casimir. The church is dedicated to the guardian of Lithuania. St. Casimir was the son of the Grand Duke of Lithuania and the King of Poland. Town Hall Square is a lovely open space with some cafes and restaurants and bars with tables and chairs set outside for al fresco drinks and dining. As the sun was setting and we strolled into a beautiful evening, we had a look for somewhere to settle down and have a pre-dinner drink. Our friend Jurga took us to a pretty collection of passageways and courtyards that housed a collection of bars and restaurants. It was still very warm and we were able to sit outside and soak up the evening atmosphere. We decided to walk to Town Hall Square to find a restaurant for dinner. There was an Italian restaurant that we heard had good reviews that we were keen to try. After our big, delicious Lithuanian lunch, Maurizio's was a great place for a relaxed and casual Italian dinner, sharing some pizzas and a few drinks. The service was good, the atmosphere was fun, and the pizza was delicious. A nightcap on the hotel terrace was the perfect end to a wonderful day exploring this fascinating city. After a good breakfast in the hotel, we were up for another day of exploring and sightseeing. There are various transport options to help you get around. The railway station and bus station are close to the old town. There are scooters and bikes that you can hire. There is the sightseeing bus, and there are also city tours that you can book. Vilnius Old Town is fairly small and we were enjoying exploring on foot, and top of our list today we were heading to Vilnius Cathedral in Cathedral Square. The cathedral is the heart of Catholic spiritual life in the city. The cathedral's proper name is the Basilica of St. Stanislaus and St. Ladislaus of Vilnius. It's believed the construction of the original cathedral was ordered in 1251. Over the centuries, it's been used for the inauguration ceremonies of Lithuanian monarchs, whilst in modern times it's held masses dedicated to the elected presidents of Lithuania. The cathedral has suffered several fires over the centuries, as well as war damage, and has been rebuilt and renovated multiple times. Inside, there are more than 40 works of art dating from the 16th through to the 19th centuries. During the Soviet occupation, unbelievably, the cathedral was converted into a warehouse. The cathedral today is classical in style, but still has traces of its pagan past, as well as signs of Gothic, Renaissance, and Baroque influences. A 57-metre tall bell tower stands next to the cathedral. Its history dates back to the 13th century, but its current appearance comes from the beginning of the 19th century. Its bells chime to invite people to masses, and there's an exhibition inside the tower which showcases its history, as well as offering visitors spectacular views of the old town. Nearby, there is a museum of the Palace of the Grand Dukes of Lithuania and some lovely gardens outside. From the gardens, you can see one of the key landmarks and symbols of the city, the iconic Gediminas Castle Tower. The tower sits high on a hill above the city, and my next stop is to climb to the top to take a closer look. There is a funicular to carry people up to the top, but the day I visited it was out of order, so the only way up was by foot. It's a steep climb up the cobbled path, but it's worth it for the spectacular views. From the hill, you can enjoy views of the Three Crosses monument. According to legend, 7 Franciscan friars were beheaded on top of the hill, and wooden crosses have marked the spot since the early 17th century. The monument was ripped down by the Soviets in 1950 and replaced in its current form in 1989. The tower today houses a museum which cost €8 when I visited in July. The tower is part of a castle complex which evolved between the 10th and the 18th centuries as a significant defensive structure. Originally, there were 3 castles which were attacked several times by the Teutonic Order, but it wasn't completely captured until the Battle of Vilnius in 1655. After suffering much damage, the castles lost their defensive importance, and many buildings were abandoned and further damaged and demolished during the Soviet annexation. If you don't mind climbing the steps, each floor offers a different insight into the history of Vilnius and the tower. The tower has an iconic place in history. In 1989, a peaceful demonstration, now known as the Baltic Way, was held which would contribute to a monumental change due to its powerful symbolic significance. 2 million people from Estonia, Latvia and Lithuania formed a human chain, holding hands, starting in Tallinn, passing through Riga and ending at Gediminas Tower in Lithuania. The chain only held together in its entirety for about a quarter of an hour at 7 p.m. on the 23rd of August, but it was enough to send a powerful message to Moscow. It showed it was possible for the people to stand up against the Soviet occupation. The Baltic Way was one of the sparks across the region, eventually leading to the fall of the Berlin Wall and ultimately to the dissolution of the Soviet Empire. It's worth making it right to the top of the tower. There's a viewing platform which offers more stunning views of the city. From the top, you get a view of the Vilnius TV tower, the tallest structure in Lithuania. It also has its place in history, where sadly 14 unarmed civilians lost their lives and 700 were injured, opposing the Soviet military seizure of the tower in 1991. Leaving the tower and the museum behind, I made my way back down the hill to street level. At the base of the castle complex, you'll find the old arsenal, which is now the National Museum of Lithuania. In front of it, you'll see the statue of King Mindaugas, the first known Grand Duke of Lithuania and crowned king. Heading back into the colourful and bustling streets of the old town, looking back, the tower is beautifully framed on the skyline. We found a nice spot on the terrace of the Narutis Hotel to sit and have coffee and do some people watching. The hotel has a great location and looked like a smart option for a city centre break. In this area, there are lots of souvenir shops if you want to find something unusual to take home to remind you of your visit to Vilnius. I don't know if it's a Lithuanian thing, but there was a big selection of frogs in all shapes and sizes. You'll see a number of market stalls as you stroll around the city centre, selling local crafts and produce and even more souvenirs. It was extremely hot and sunny, so it seemed like a good idea to stop and buy an ice cream. Next stop was the Presidential Palace. It's the official residence and workplace of the President of Lithuania. As I was walking by, there was a lot of security and some vehicles leaving with a police escort. Maybe it was the president himself. If you walk along the side of the palace, you will see an Italian restaurant called Florentino. Just by it, there is an entrance into an inner courtyard. If you carry on walking through another passageway under the arches, you'll come to an interesting statue of an elephant and a chessboard and some fantastic views of the rear of the palace. The palace dates back to the 14th century when it was first used as the residence of the Bishop of Vilnius. Throughout its history, the palace has also been used as the home of prominent European leaders, including the monarchs of the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, the kings and emperors of France, and the emperors of Russia. In the 19th century, the palace was reconstructed into its current Grand Empire style. After a light lunch at a cheap and cheerful Italian restaurant called Trattoria di Ravello, we strolled past the beautiful building housing the Lithuanian National Philharmonic Society, located in the heart of the old town, close to the Gate of Dawn. The concert venue features two halls, a main auditorium and a smaller chamber hall, if you'd like to enjoy a classical music concert whilst you're visiting. As you stroll around the old town, it's good to keep your eyes open because there's always a little hidden passageway or something unusual to catch your eye to look at. Close to the National Philharmonia building, you will find a wonderful cheese house. If you look very closely, you'll spot a cheeky mouse poking its head out of a cheese and a rat trying to climb up. If you're a cheese lover, the shop and cafe is the perfect place for you. There are lots of delicious things, all made with cheese. In front of the cheese house, you'll find a statue of an activist and proponent of the Lithuanian national revival. I won't try to pronounce his name, but he was often referred to affectionately as the patriarch of the nation for his contributions towards an independent Lithuanian state. As we continued to stroll around the old town, we came to an intriguing area called Literatu Street. It's a short, narrow street known for its public display of decorative and artistic plaques dedicated to the writers who have lived and worked in Vilnius or otherwise share a connection with Vilnius and Lithuania. The artwork was first added in 2009 when Vilnius was designated as the European Capital of Culture and has grown today to over 200 plaques. In the same street, there's a smart-looking French restaurant called Saint-Germain, which would have been good to try if I'd had more time. Close to here, you'll also find the Church Heritage Museum. One of the most architecturally interesting churches in Vilnius is the Roman Catholic St. Anne's Church. It's a fine example of flamboyant brick Gothic style. The first church at this site was constructed of wood and was built for Anna, Grand Duchess of Lithuania. The present brick church was constructed at the request of the King of Poland and Grand Duke of Lithuania in 1495 to 1500. The exterior of the church has remained almost unchanged ever since. The interior has been exposed over the years to fire damage and various reconstructions and renovations. According to a well-known legend, Emperor Napoleon, after seeing the church during the Franco-Russian War in 1812, expressed a wish to carry it home to Paris in the palm of his hand. Next door is the Church of St. Francis and St. Bernard, dedicated to St. Francis of Assisi and St. Bernardino of Siena. The church has had a checkered history. It was originally built by Bernardine monks, but sadly in later years the church was ravaged by the Cossacks and the monks were killed. It was closed down during the Soviet occupation before the Brethren of St. Francis returned and restored the church to its current glory. The churches are close to the river Vilna, one of the primary rivers flowing through eastern Lithuania. It's a tributary of the Neris River and gave its name to the city. The river offers a relaxing green and lush dimension to the city, and whilst I was there and the weather was hot, people were busy enjoying swimming in its slow-flowing waters and relaxing and sunbathing on its riverbanks. There are also some nice spots to sit back and enjoy a cold drink. Heading back towards the old town, and with evening approaching, we were keen to sample some more of the city's vibrant street life, with its bars and restaurants tipping out onto the streets for dinner and drinks. It would be very different in the depths of winter, but in the height of summer, with the warm evening temperatures, the streets were absolutely buzzing with people having fun. It's the start of a new morning and we've got a very exciting trip ahead of us with a day trip to the famous Lithuanian town of Trakai. The town sits to the west of Vilnius and is easily accessible by car, train, or with an organised tour from the capital. We were lucky enough to have our friend Jurga driving, which took approximately half an hour. It's a stunning lake resort, and being just 28 kilometres from the capital, it's an extremely popular tourist destination. In ancient times, it was the medieval capital of Lithuania. As you wander through its streets, you'll see a rainbow of brightly coloured traditional houses. Pilis is the Lithuanian word meaning castle, and that's exactly where we were heading as we strolled past the market stalls and made our way towards the lake. There are around 200 lakes in the region, but the deepest is Lake Galve, with its 21 islands and home to the Trakai Castle and the Trakai Historical National Park. The town started developing in the 13th century, although there were earlier settlements in the area. According to legend, after a successful hunting party, the Grand Duke Gediminas discovered a beautiful lake and decided to build a castle there. As we cross the bridge from one island to another, we get our first look at the castle, and it's absolutely breathtaking. The iconic island castle was a 14th century fortress in the middle of the lake. Once a home to the Lithuanian Grand Dukes, it now houses the Trakai History Museum with archaeological coins, crafts and objects, and we're going inside to have a look. The museum has been opened since 1962. It has a permanent exhibition containing furniture, clocks, glassware and other possessions of the Grand Dukes, as well as hosting many exhibitions and seasonal events, such as in June the castle holds a medieval festival. In the 16th century, once the castle had lost its military and residential purpose, it served as a prison for noblemen. In 1661, after an invasion, the castle was left in ruins by enemy troops, and it wasn't until more recent times that the interest in Lithuanian history grew and restoration of the castle began. The castle is built in Gothic style and has become an important cultural symbol of Lithuania. The museum is opened every day to welcome visitors to its fascinating history. You can easily spend a couple of hours exploring the different exhibitions on display at the castle and getting a feel for the rooms and the life of the Grand Dukes of Lithuania in those days when the castle was in its full glory. The castle has an ancient well where people have thrown coins for good luck, and you can climb the steep, narrow wooden stairs to a domed exhibition space at the top. It really is a fascinating experience, and I highly recommend the museum. Next, we are taking a boat trip to enjoy some views of the lake and its islands. We were on a wooden boat called Galve, named after the lake. The tours run from May till October, weather dependent, and there are trips throughout the day. You can either buy tickets in advance or on arrival if there's availability, and the tour we were on took about 45 minutes. The boat had a small bar where you could buy snacks and refreshments. Overlooking the lake, you can see an impressive palace built in luxurious neoclassical grandeur. It's known as Uzukrakis Manor. It's been owned by several generations of Lithuanian and Polish noble families. It was damaged and occupied by the Germans in the Second World War and later nationalized by the Soviets. Today, it's used for a variety of public and cultural events. There are some lovely looking hotels and spas on the banks of the lake if you'd like to stay and enjoy the natural beauty of this area for a little bit longer. It's a relaxed pace of life. We saw several people out in small boats enjoying some fishing. You can also hire pedal boats and small rowing boats and canoes to get on the water and enjoy these beautiful surroundings. Some people were enjoying the cool waters of the lake to swim. Our lovely boat trip came to an end and we decided to take a walk around the outside of the castle. Looking across the water, you can see the many shops, restaurants and boat hire companies that have established themselves here to serve the many tourists who travel far and wide to this beauty spot and place of historical significance. From here you get a great view of the fairy tale Trakai Castle standing majestically on its island. There are lots of places to eat by the lake, but we were taking a short walk to find somewhere special that had been recommended for lunch. An ethnic group called the Karims were brought to Trakai by a Grand Duke in around 1398. They are descendants of Turkish-speaking family who came from Crimea. They have a unique culture with their own religion, a form of Judaism, as well as their own food specialities. We've come to the Karim restaurant to try kibbenein, a savoury pastry filled with either meat or vegetables.
Corn and spinach, and this one is with chicken.
I tried a chicken one which was very tasty. They're very similar to pasties that we have back in the UK. Our last stop in Trakai was to visit a chocolate house specialising in handmade chocolates. We bought a couple of boxes of the handmade chocolates to take away as gifts, but also got tempted by the glorious looking cakes and ice cream. After a lovely day, we left Trakai and took the train back to Vilnius, which took about 40 minutes. After some rest in the hotel, we headed to the lively ghetto area to enjoy the atmosphere and some dinner. We woke to our final day in Vilnius and started off with a visit to the city's beautiful university. It was founded in 1579 as the Jesuit Academy of Vilnius. The magnificent historical campus in the older town is worth a visit to see the architectural heritage of its buildings and courtyards. The Church of St. John's was originally completed in 1426, but later became part of the university complex. The church and its bell tower and grand courtyard are among the most picturesque parts of the university.
The established university. It's actually the best of all.
The church was originally Gothic, but in the first half of the 18th century, it acquired some Baroque features. During Soviet times, like many other churches, it was turned into a warehouse and later used as a university museum. Today, it's been returned to its primary function as a place of worship, as well as hosting concerts and festivals and being the venue for the presentation of diplomas to students.
And the altar is three-dimensional. There are actually three altars to
Back outside, the grand courtyard is lined with images commemorating the founders, patrons, and notaries of the university. An intricate fresco called The Seasons is available to view on the second floor of the Philology Centre, created between 1976 and 1985. It's painted on the arches and upper walls, the content taken from Lithuanian mythology. The fresco is by the artist Petrus Repsis and depicts fantastic imagery, depictions of rituals and religious concepts.
And it's pretty much very surreal in many cases. This is what's called the tree of
Back on the streets of the old town, we encountered some sort of religious procession, and we were ready to try some more delicious traditional Lithuanian food for lunch. There's a very nice restaurant in the square opposite the National Philharmonia. Once again, we had the fried garlic rye bread with sour cream and delicious cepalinas. After lunch, I headed to the city's cat cafe to have a coffee and to spend some time with some fluffy locals. In the early evening, Vilnius had one remarkable final treat in store for me. Every year in July, the Polish students of the city gather in Cathedral Square to dance a traditional Polish dance to celebrate their graduation. A spectacular sight and atmosphere, Vilnius really is a city full of wonderful surprises. For our last dinner, this cosmopolitan city gave us delicious Greek food in a lovely restaurant with great service called Dionysus. Our 5 days in Vilnius were jam-packed with amazing sights to see and explore, local food to taste, and a chance to soak up the atmosphere and history of this fascinating city. It may be small, but it has a huge personality and has instantly become one of my favourite places. Very much helped by our generous and loving Lithuanian friends, and the genuine hospitality and friendly welcome the city gives to all its visitors. I can't wait to go back. But for now, we're heading to the train station for the next part of our adventure. We're heading to the coastal city of Klaipėda. Look out on my YouTube channel for my video of the highlights of Klaipėda, Palanga and Kretinga.
I've had a wonderful time in Vilnius in Lithuania. If you've enjoyed my video and would like to see some more of my travels, please click subscribe. Until next time, thank you for watching. Goodbye.